Hi guys, welcome along to Sceam Botty. I'm your host, Rodney Stewart. We're getting into Season 1, Episode 26 of Star Trek, the original series. The episode, Errand of Mercenary. Very, very good episode. One that, at certain points throughout the episode, you think to yourself, okay, this started off good. It's starting to drag ever so slightly. But by the end of it, you're like, kudos, that was friggin' well done. Errand of Mercy, 26th episode of Season 1. Written by Jean L. Kuhn, directed by John Newland. First broadcast way back in March of 1967. It was the first episode in which the Klingons appeared. In the episode, the war of the Klingons declared. Captain Kirk and his first officer Spock attempt to sway a placid population of a planet near the Klingon border to resist an invading military occupation. The Klingon governor Kor would return. He'll return in Star Trek: The Animated Series episode "The Time Trap," voiced by James Doohan in that one. He's played by John Calicos in this episode, and is absolutely fantastic. Decades later in Star Trek Deep Space Nine episodes, the same character will turn up again, Blood Oath, the Sword of Kailash, and once more onto the breach, and the Sword of Kailash. Worf mentions Kor's encounter with Kirk, so you do get some continuity and later seasons with this episode. So the plot is negotiations between the United Federation of Planets and the Klingon Empire have collapsed, and the Enterprise is sent to the world of Organia, an unaligned planet near the Klingon border, to prevent the Klingons from taking advantage of its strategic location. As the Enterprise approaches Organia, the ship is attacked and destroys a Klingon vessel. So you get a little bit of action, and here as well, a little space battle in there, nice to see. When they arrive on the planet's surface, Kirk and Spock find a peaceful but technologically primitive town. Kirk appeals to Elboyne, I can't recall how you say his name. The guy is the head of the local council. He appeals to them to allow the Federation to help them resist the Klingon occupation, but the Organians adamantly oppose any use of violence. The Klingons' fleet appears in orbit, and Kirk orders the Enterprise to withdraw, which strands himself and Spock on the planet. This guy, Elboyne, I'm just going to call him Elborn, for the sake of not being able to speak words. This guy, he disguises Kirk and Spock to avoid suspicion. The Klingons arrive, seize control of the planet without resistance, installing the ranking Klingon officer Kor as the military governor. Kor has Spock questioned with a mind sifter device to confirm that he's not a spy, and designates Kirk as the Organian civilian liaison with the occupation force. Spock uses his mental discipline to withstand the scrutiny of the device. I'm skipping over a lot of stuff here. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of posturing between Kor and Kirk. It's good stuff to see them not fighting hand-to-hand combat, but a lot of the episode is like, mental warfare between the two of them. That evening, in an attempt to inspire the Organians, Spock and Kirk sabotage a munitions dump outside of the town. Elborn reveals the true identities of the Federation officers to Kor. They did this here, and your guys, like, I tried to protect you, now you're on your own, sort of a thing. He and his council then mysteriously free the two before the Klingons can torture information out of them. While Kirk and Spock try to comprehend the council's contradictory actions, Kor orders the execution of 200 Organians, and the council seem unmoved, and they just let it happen. At this point, Kirk, he's just, he's beyond flabbergasted. He's just thinking, what the heck is wrong with you guys? Like, Klingons just executed 200 Organians, and you're just going to let it sit there and happen. You'll not stand up for yourselves. You'll not lift arms and fight. As the Klingon fleets ready themselves for a confrontation in the system, Kirk and Spock raid the Klingon headquarters in hopes of rousing the population into resistance. Definite act of desperation at the end of the episode to get the Organians to actually pull their finger out and actually do something. Kirk and Spock capture Core and prepare to make a last stand. The Organians then reveal their true nature. Turns out they're highly advanced and corporeal beings. You could say they were the inspiration for the Q in a lot of ways. These guys that were taking on human form to try and show these guys that, fighting is not the way. But at the end of the episode, they're standing in the room, still in their corporeal form, and they instantly incapacitate both sides, Klingons and the Federation, both ships, the whole works, rendered useless, forcing them to agree to a cessation of hostilities. The Organians predict that the two sides will work together in the future at the end of the episode. The thing for me was, in this episode, you've got Kirk and Core, Federation and Klingon opposing forces throughout the whole episode. By the end of it, whenever the Organians pull the upper hand on both the Klingons and the Federation, there's a stage where Kirk and Core end up standing pretty much shoulder to shoulder, arguing with these Organians about this is not right, you can't do this sort of thing. And and at one point they're finishing each other's sentences. So the Organians actually do achieve what they set out to do in this episode. They get these pair to work together, even though they don't really seem to consciously realise at that point that they're actually, Federation and Klingon are actually fighting on the one side against the Organians here. You just leave us alone, we want to fight. So it is a fantastic episode. Let's see what it says about the reception of it. Hollywood.com said Errand of Mercy was among the best of Star Trek episodes, but the Klingons noting that the episode, the war-craving Klingons fought the Organians were peasants. A ranking of each episode of the original series, Hollywood placed this episode 25th out of 79 episodes. And a review of fictional Star Trek Aliens in 2018 by CBR, the Organians are noted as a powerful species. They were particularly impressed with the Organian character Trefane, who was one of the Organian council members that talks to Kirk. 2016 Sci Fi ranked guest star John Calico's performance as Core, the Klingon leader, as the 13th best guest star on the original series. Calicos went on to reprise his role as Core decades later on Star Trek spin-off Deep Space Nine. The franchise was trying to do numerous crossovers whenever possible to enhance continuity. Directors were happy with enhancements to continuity, such as actors reprising their roles as characters the audience were already familiar with. Being consistent with continuity and bringing back old characters meant the audience would feel familiar with what was being presented. A 2018 Star Trek binge-watching guide by the Den of Geeks recommended this episode as part of the foundations of Star Trek. Let me see now. In pop culture, in the 1988 song What's on Your Mind, Pure Energy by American synth pop band Information Society uses a sample of Leonard Nimoy's voice from this episode. Nimoy's son Adam facilitated this. The same sample was used in the 2018 song Dame to Casita by El Chombo and Cuddy Ranks. Yeah, it's not hard to do a little bit of research online and see how Star Trek bled into the culture in a big bad way throughout the years. Fantastic, fantastic show. This is definitely one that I would highly recommend. Now, this podcast episode, if this is your first introduction to the episode, this is very, very surface level. You get into that episode and you get to see the back and forth between Car and Kirk is fantastic. And this Klingon, it's definitely, like, I agree with all that sort of stuff. He's definitely one of the best Klingons that I can recall off the top of my head. He just does a good job of it on this episode. That's going to do it for this episode. I don't have a lot of time today to actually record, so I'm going to cut it short, guys. So, yes, if you enjoy this series, please get subscribed to the channel, give it a follow, rate and review, all that social media stuff. I'll love you forever. And yes, I'm going to go and get my day's work started. So until the next episode, stay safe, and I'll talk to you all later. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.